DC, let's say, is pulling the strings. Why?
To destroy Russia. That was their brilliant plan. Use the Ukraine to destroy Russia. You see, one little secret that shouldn't be a secret about what the Washingtonians is that they don't know anything about Russia at all, and the little that they know is wrong. There are a number of reasons for that. The big one is that when the Soviet Union fell apart, Americans decided that Russia is no longer a problem, so why study it? So they basically took all of the people who were supposed to be Russian scholars and sent them to study Chinese or Arabic or Farsi or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so the Russia hands in the State Department and the CIA in the United States are decidedly third rate and rather thin on the ground. Mm-hmm. And the only thing worse than not knowing what you need to know about a certain region is having bad information. Mm-hmm. The other reason why this information is bad is that a lot of it comes from people who you might call them dissidents, but they're no longer called that. They're basically people who don't like Russia, mm-hmm. Russians who don't like Russia, emigres, right. Who went to the United States and decided that they could make money just by bad-mouthing Russia, mm-hmm. telling Americans what they wanted to hear. Right. And so what the Americans ended up as a world view, because Russia is a big chunk of the world, is that Russia is fearsome but weak and could fall apart at any moment and just needs a little push. Mm-hmm. And so the Ukraine was the device that they wanted to use to push Russia over the edge. Right. The idea is that we provoke Russia into attacking, we accuse Russia of attacking, we accuse Russia of being aggressive, we impose sanctions on Russia, as a result of which the Russian economy collapses. People become unhappy. We finance a color revolution in Moscow. People overthrow Putin. We insert our own proxy Russian president. Mm-hmm. And then that Russian president allows us to rush in with our oil companies and gas companies and plunder Russia's natural resources as we would like.
It's funny because I've only been here for 3 years. So I feel myself late to the party of learning about all this. But even I, with my limited knowledge, nowadays, if I hear like mainstream media people talking or politicians in the West talking, and they'll say certain things, and I'm like, what are they talking about? It's not just that they have a different opinion. They're either flat out lying or they just legitimately don't know, Like for instance, I've had hope in Trump in the past, but I feel like he legitimately does not know exactly what's going on. And the only pass I could try and give the guy is he's got his own country to deal with, and he's just being whispered things, and he's got Russia like in the distance that he will sometimes attend to. But that's as charitable as I can be at this point. I mean, it's crazy. And I think because I was born in 1974 and raised on the Hollywood movies about Russia, it's easy for me to not think deeply and just take it for granted, just be like, oh yeah, okay, it's the bad guys. All right, sure, fine. But I try to go deeper now that I'm getting older and ask why, why? And what I'm getting from what you're telling me is that, it's about the resources, I guess, right? Because they say that the goal is to destroy Russia, but then I want to go deeper. Why destroy Russia? Is it because the U.S. needs their resources? Is it like an American football mentality just to win?
Around 2008, the United States was really down for the count because oil ran out. Peak oil came and went in 2005-06, and the U.S. would have collapsed, would have ceased to be an industrialized nation at that point. But then shale oil came on stream and saved the day. And American shale oil is the only thing that has been keeping the United States from collapsing since then. But shale oil has stopped growing for the past 2 years. Uh-huh. And the way that the physics of shale oil work, it depletes very, very quickly. A shale well is not like a traditional oil well that produces oil for a decade or more. It drops by a third or half in the first year of production. Mm. So the drilling rate has already dropped in the U.S. The production rate, it will drop next. Okay. The United States is absolutely desperate to find a source for oil. It has very few options. Mm-hmm. It can drill off the shelf, the continental shelf, or on the continental shelf in Alaska, but it can't do that without Russian help because it doesn't have the technology. Only the Russians have that technology.
The special ships, the nuclear icebreakers, is that right?
Yes. Okay. There's a lot of technology that goes with doing energy projects in the Arctic. Americans just simply don't have it. So one of the things being discussed is cooperation between Russia and the United States in that area, because without it, the United States really can't survive. So that was the hope, that you use the Ukraine to knock over Russia and take Russia's oil and keep the party going for another few decades, and then maybe something else will happen, or in the long run we're all dead, so it doesn't matter. That was the thinking. Didn't work. It did not work.
In the 1900s, like late or maybe late 1800s, as New York was growing, they were seeing a real crisis on their hands, that they simply would not be able to handle all the manure that the horses were producing, and they didn't know how they were going to get past this. It sounds silly to say now, but then the car was invented, and that solved that problem. So yeah, sometimes it's hard for us to see around the horizon. So then what would you say to people sitting in the U.S., good people, hardworking people that are listening to this are a little bit concerned? What Western leaders would you advise them to support? Are there any today that they should support to try and help the U.S. be a functioning country or stay a functioning country?
Become friends with your local drug lords and mafia leaders, because they are the future. The United States is not really a country. It's a collection of states. Half of them don't get along with the other half. The country is held together by the fact that the U.S. Treasury Department still can write checks that don't bounce. But that is a matter of time. If you look at the financial statements of the U.S. government and know just a tiny little bit about how money works, you realize that this thing has pretty much run its course. It's going to fail. It's going to fail dramatically and quickly. And after that, you will have lots of territories, some of which will be snatched up by the Chinese or the Indians or other groups, or the Mexicans. Mm-hmm. A lot of territories will be given over to drug cartels, which have the most advanced governance structures.
Wow. Right, so now, you're pretty sure this is going to happen, because when you first start to say it, a person might want to laugh, and then we realize that you're serious. So you're pretty sure this is the future.
Well, the last thing that happened with the drug cartels is that they have figured out how to defeat the U.S. military. And they did that by going to the Ukraine and seeing how the U.S. military, or the proxy, the Ukrainian proxy for the U.S. military, is being defeated by the Russians. So basically, they went through that learning experience, and now they're better armed with drone aircraft, etc. The border doesn't exist. Their weapons are much more advanced than anything the U.S. military can offer. And the U.S. military is not even that interested. They would rather just take the money than fight. Why sacrifice your life when you can get rich instead?
Do you think that the U.S. was always destined for this, or did it go wrong at some point? Because the story of being a colony and throwing off British rule and gaining independence, it's an inspiring story. Could they have gone in the correct direction, or do you think this is something that was always going to come apart?
Well, it's by design. It's the United States of America, and the word united is not necessary. It would be the States of America. And then why talk about them all at once if they don't get along? So you'd have the Western States of America, or the Eastern States of America, or this or that collection. And I lived in Boston, and then I lived in South Carolina, and they're different countries.
So you're saying they forgot to be united? So could they have practiced being united to stop this from happening? Or is that too simple of a way to say it?
I think it would be absolutely pointless. People seriously don't like Yankee land, is what they call it, in South Carolina. Okay. And they don't go to Yankee land. It's a foreign country to them. They don't like the Yankees that come over. I've been to California, and the Californians are sort of a subspecies of American that is very different, even though they get along with people, say, from Massachusetts. They're different. They're substantially different cultures. Okay. That aren't really compatible. So why tie them together into a single country if Washington fails, if Washington just completely becomes disrupted and non-functional, it's very, very close to that point.
How is Russia different? Because Russia is also a multi-ethnic place with lots of different territories.
I don't think, Comparing the two, I wouldn't even know where to start because it's a different civilization based on different principles. Russia is very centralized in terms of its spirit. And believe it or not, well, the United States is all about commerce. In Russia, it's all about heroic deeds. It's not about making money. It's all about sacrifice.
Okay.
Different mentality, different civilization, different approach to life.
Okay. So you said for a good American, they might want to befriend their local mafia, basically. Might they want to immigrate to Russia?
What I generally tell people is that if they emigrate to Russia, a change in mentality would be required. Being in Russia with an American mentality outside of Moscow and St. Petersburg would probably be a bit painful.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes. Rolling?
Yes.
Did you like that clip? If so, click here. But if you love that clip, click here and watch the full video. Also remember to like, subscribe, comment, and most importantly, share before I disappear.